Hey, I'm Jake Scott, and I am here chatting with Milky. Lavender, I feel like, for me, is the culmination of all the things that I love, and it's the culmination of the things that I think I do well, which at my heart and soul, I'm always going to be a singer-songwriter with an acoustic guitar. That's just how I started writing songs. That's still how I write songs. No matter how they end up, if it turns into there's not a guitar anywhere in sight in the production of the song, that's still always the genesis of it for me. And so I really wanted to, with this album, in a way, elevate beyond some of the things that have been kind of like my usual bag of tricks, so to speak, but then also reconnect with the things that made me fall in love with music at the beginning, which was just telling stories and playing a guitar. And there are songs on this album that kind of cross the whole spectrum of that. You've got songs that are upbeat and fun, and there's really like lots of synths and lots of production and bells and whistles. And then there's several songs on the album that's just me and a guitar. I really, really think that it's the best music I've made so far. And it's been a long time coming. The real theme of this whole album of Lavender that I wanted to capture was the feeling of nostalgia. Because for me, when I think of nostalgia, I think of like moments in your life when you feel really alive. And nostalgia can be a positive memory. It can be falling in love for the first time, or thinking about your childhood memories or seasons of your life that were really magical. And then nostalgia can also be attached to things that were really hard, like a heartbreak or going through like a loss of a family member or something like that. But these moments where the extremes make you feel really alive and they make you feel really present, and they kind of like coat your memory with this feeling of nostalgia. And I've always been really drawn to it, and songs that make me feel nostalgic, I'm like, oh, I just got to keep coming back to that just because I love the way it makes me feel. And for this album, as I was writing it, I could kind of just see that like through line between all the songs was this feeling of nostalgia. And for me, what makes me very nostalgic is Lavender, because when I met my wife, Rachel, she's obsessed with lavender. She loves lavender lotions and essential oils and lattes and ice cream, everything. It's lavender, everything. And so when I met her, I was introduced to the world of lavender. And anytime I smell it, anytime I taste it, anytime I see it anywhere, I always am instantly back in the moment where I met her and I fell in love with her for the first time 8 years ago now. 9 years ago now. So for me, that was kind of like the overall emotional compass for this album. And I think every song in its own way brings me, and hopefully anyone listening to it, back to a place of nostalgia in some way. So for years, I was releasing one song a month for 3 years in a row. So I was kind of used to this mindset of kind of like, all right, this song is good enough, I got to put it out. And I've got 2 weeks to put it out. It's not like I have time to like think about it or obsess over it. And there was something really fun about that, because it was just like run and gun, and I didn't have time to be too precious. But I knew that one day I wanted to make an album. I wanted to have the time to like obsess and be, like the cliche artist who's like burning his house down because like something's wrong. That's not actually true. I would never burn my house down. Basically, I had that moment at the end of last year. I had a group of songs that I thought was the album, and I had just gotten done touring for the year, and I was really tired. It was my birthday, actually. And my wife and I go to dinner, and we're talking about the album, and she was just like, hey, I love you. I got to be honest with you. I think you've got better songs than you. And initially I was like, you're wrong. This is my best. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, I've been feeling that deep in my gut, and I've just been scared to admit it to myself. And you just nailed it. I knew that the songs I had were good, but I felt like there was more. There was more in me. There was more to say. There was more to tap into. And so after the holidays last year, I just went back into the studio and kind of went back to square one of like, what is the heart of this album? What is the ethos of this whole record? Like, what do I want to say? Because for most people, this will be the first time they've ever heard my music. And so I wanted to bring something that felt really authentic to me. And now I feel like what this album ended up being versus what I thought it was going to be is something totally different. And I'm so grateful that I went through that process and that my wife had the courage to say something, because I think it is so much better now than it would have been. Oh, that's a good question. First and foremost, there's a song called One on the Way that I think is probably going to go down as one of my favorite songs I've ever written. I get emotional every time I sing it. I won't give too much away, but One on the Way. I think Come Close, because I just love that song. Oh, what's the last one? Probably, it's a tie. It's a tie between Good Day and Sink In. Yeah, I love all those songs. They all do something different, but I think those would be the ones. I think One on the Way is probably the song I'm the most proud of, because as a songwriter, the way it pays off of just like how the concept of One on the Way is different in every chorus. There's 3 choruses and it evolves from the course of like meeting someone, proposing to someone, and then you find out that you've got one on the way. And I'm really proud of the way that song kind of unfolds. As far as a musical motif, there's a riff. There's a synthesizer riff on It's Gonna Be You, which is the second to last song on the album. It was the last song I wrote for the record, and I had come up with that riff months before, and it was just buried in my phone. And I was on a plane actually, and I found it, and I was like, whoa, I need to write a song to this. Like, I love this thing. And I think that's the little musical moment that I am the most proud of on the record. Well, yesterday, played my first show ever in Australia, and I truly was like, if 10 people show up, I'm going to be thrilled, because I've never played a show here. I have no idea, like, what a show's going to be like here. And like, people showed up and it was so fun, and they were singing the songs, and it just kind of made me step back for a second and just be like, this is crazy. I'm halfway around the world. People are singing every word to my songs. It just doesn't feel like real life still. That, and we got some unbelievable breakfast sandwiches at this place called Archie's All Day in Melbourne. So that was incredible. I think the live show for me is like the full circle moment of the whole thing, because for a long time I was releasing songs. I was releasing a song every month for 3 years, and I wasn't touring, because my mindset was like, I'm going to try to build an audience online, and then once I think they're there, then I'll go and play shows. And I didn't realize in that season how much I was missing out on that full circle moment of like, I spend so much time with the songs in a studio alone, and I listen to them ad nauseum alone in a room, and then I put it out in the world on the internet, and like, for 48 hours I'm getting lots of like messages and people being like, love the new song, and it like feels good. And then Monday morning comes and it's like, all right, cool, back to real life. You kind of start to harden yourself a little bit to like, oh, it's cool, it's out there, who cares, moving on to the next one. And then you go play a show and you're in a room and people are singing it back to you because they've had their own experience with that song, and it means something to them that's totally different than what it means to me. And we're all just like having this moment together. Once I started playing live, I realized like, oh, this is the point. Like, this is the moment that you dream of, is this connection moment where you're all experiencing it together. And it's, yeah, for me, it's my favorite part of the whole process. John Mayer, Coldplay, The Fleet Foxes, Sufjan Stevens, and Bon Iver. I love Taylor Swift. Big Swiftie. Continuum, John Mayer, hands down. For whatever reason, Remember the Titans is coming to my mind because I love high school football. So there you go. Oh my God, my brain is so scatterbrained all the time that sometimes I'm thinking about like how I'm going to get to the next song, or if I'm hungry, or if I'm thirsty, and I'm like, I wonder, and then I'll like snap back to it. I'm like, I need to focus here. But usually it's just like I'm trying to stay present. That's what I'm always trying to do. Miley. Ooh, Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. I love that song still. There was this local band, and I thought at the time they were like super world famous. And they had a song, I think it was called Shark Attack. And I was like, this is the cool. I don't even remember the name of the band now, to be honest with you. But other than that, I think my first like real concert was I went to go see AC/DC with my dad and my brother. It was sick. Man, I saw John Mayer probably back in 2006, like right after Continuum happened, and it's still like unbelievable show. Probably a Spice Girl, to be honest with you, because they're just absolute icons. Can donut spice be a thing? Because I am a donut fanatic, so I'll take it. No one's taking that one. I have always wanted to play at Red Rocks in Colorado. It's like iconic, and it's outside, and it's just so like, there's just some folklore around that place, and I really want to play there someday. Party in the USA every time. I feel like Holly Humberstone would be a cool crossover. I mean, it's hard to beat the Beatles' impact on the music industry. Slow down. Slow down. Be present. Oh, I remember this well. I've been talking about John Mayer a lot, but I was in one of my friends' silver Xterra, and we were driving down the street, and he turned on Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer. And it was the first time I had like really heard John Mayer. You know, I had heard him on the radio in passing, but like I just remember that opening riff happened, and it was like the world around me just stood still. And I was like, what is this? I need to do this. And that was kind of like when the light bulb turned on for me.